Hello, my love. You okay? What's your name, my love?
I'm Jade.
Jade. In your own time, obviously I understand it's obviously very traumatic what's happened. Are you able to tell me what's happened, please?
Yes. I was at a friend's birthday party. I went back with a bunch of friends.
I remember falling asleep, and then I remember waking up and knowing that something had penetrated me, but I felt like violated. I felt really violated.
Do you feel like that potentially someone had intercourse with you in any way?
Yes, I would say that I could feel physically that something
Has taken place?
Yeah.
It's Jade, wasn't it?
Jade, yeah.
Right. What we're going to have to do now, Jade, is we have to go through, report this as what we call rape.
It's quite nice looking back on these. Isabel is my best friend. She has been with me kind of through absolutely everything. She's just genuinely bloody lush.
Jade is like a very confident person. She has a super strong moral compass. She's really funny. Yeah, we're basically sisters.
So, I mean, there were some pictures that me and Belle had taken at the night. It feels really weird, actually, like looking back and just thinking my whole life was literally turned upside down after that moment. On that evening, I went to Isabel's house.
We decided that we would literally just show our faces at this party. We went to the bar, got ourselves a bottle of Prosecco to share, and we were kind of mingling and chatting in groups.
So we were there until the end of service, and I think Belle then decided she was going to go home. She was quite tired. I was still in a bit of a mood to party, if I was completely honest.
She was tipsy, we both were tipsy, but she was like totally in control and happy and bubbly and you know, just wanted to chat with friends. That's how we left. I left her with her friends.
I just remember walking back up here with them. The flat was literally just over here, just to the side of us. We got back to the house for the kind of after party. It was like literally 4 or 5 people. It wasn't like a huge thing. After a while, I was quite tired. People were still listening to music, smoking and having a few drinks, but I fell asleep. And then I woke up. And I felt as if I'd been penetrated. I couldn't tell you what it was. I had no idea, but I kind of like looked down and like my trousers were off, my underwear, my bra was unpinned, and my necklace was broken. I turned around and I could see him on the other side of the sofa. I kind of got a bit aggressive and shouty and kind of confronted him. He said like something a bit odd, I guess, but he did say, I thought you were awake. And he kind of just like bolted out basically, and I got my phone and started calling Isabel.
She was hysterical and sobbing. And she said, I think I've been raped. When your best friend and your sister says that to you, it's just earth-shattering. So I jumped out of bed and tried to calm her down, and she was just hysterical, sobbing, and she threw up I was on the phone the whole time with her, trying to tell her that she was safe, she was okay, that it wasn't her fault, and how many minutes it was going to be until she got to my house. Sorry.
For me, it just feels like an absolute blur coming out of here. It was an absolute blur coming out until I got to your house and you literally just like held me. And I'm so proud of you. Yeah.
I said, you know, we should call the police. She said, yes, go on, make the call. And I made the call. Yeah, I was super brave. Super, super brave to make that decision.
Thank you for coming with me.
You don't have to thank me. You never have to thank me.
I received a call yesterday from an officer and it basically stated that I needed to be at a police station for a meeting. I don't even know what they can possibly say so late on in the day. I just don't know what to expect.
Okay, Jade, the reason why we're here is really just to discuss this case. We had an expected trial date. During our discussion back in June, I'd also mentioned that the defence were seeking a sleep expert report because in your video recorded interview, you stated that you were a deep sleeper and you previously slept talked. The defence got a report which suggested that you were in something called a non-REM parasomnic state, where essentially you were acting, how can I put it? You were essentially acting as if you were awake, but you were subconsciously asleep. What their expert suggested is that by being in that state, you've engaged in sexual activity, which then sort of resulted in a reasonable belief in consent. I know you look very...
Is all I have to say.
Yeah.
What the... Sorry, excuse my language, everyone.
It's okay. No,
That's
fine.
like...
What they're basically saying is that you were in an act of sleepwalking, and that was kind of giving off signals that sort of led to sexual activity.
But how does that tie in with like somebody's capacity to consent?
So your actions, even though you may not consciously be aware of it, led to him reasonably believing that you were consenting. I don't feel that there's a realistic prospect of conviction. So my decision will be to stop the case. So there will not be a trial.
It's been dropped. My case has been dropped, and it's a matter of days before the trial's due to start, and nothing's happening. And for me, the reasonings behind it, I can't really make head nor tail of it, to be honest. It's mad. And it's heartbreaking. So I've just received my hand-delivered letter basically summarising the meeting I had with the CPS where they essentially dropped my case. Hand-delivered by a police officer, and it's a sleep specialist concluded that the defence statement is consistent with an attack of sexsomnia. He also confirmed that even if you had never previously had an episode of sexsomnia, this could have been the first episode. What is sexsomnia? Sexsomnia is recognised as a rare sleep disorder in which a person engages in sexual activity during their sleep. I've never had anything remotely similar to this kind of thing. Like, this is just bizarre. I can continue to fight this and challenge the CPS decision. I really feel as if they've missed the mark and not investigated this enough. As a victim, I have the right to demand that the CPS review their decision. If I'm going to win this appeal, I need to work out for myself how this idea of sexsomnia all started. So I've got the footage of my original police interview. The CPS informed me when they dropped my case, it was down to a history of sleepwalking and sleep talking that I'd kind of touched upon in this video statement. So I kind of wanted to see exactly kind of where things went wrong, where has this kind of notion of sexsomnia and sleep issues have come from. And it basically traces back to my first formal interview with the police. This would have been a couple of weeks after the incident. I do kind of have some haze because it was such a long time ago now. It's quite weird to see myself in that kind of really vulnerable place.
So just to clarify, from the point of falling asleep and to the point of waking up on that sofa, there's nothing that you can recall.
No.
You don't know how your clothing's come off.
Literally.
And how your bra strap's unpinned. In regards to your sort of sleeping and stuff like that, what sort of a sleeper are you?
A bloody deep sleeper.
A deep sleeper.
I went to France with my mother a few years ago, and there was a fire alarm at 3 a.m. For the life of me, she was shaking me to wake me up.
Okay.
I have I don't know, I sleep talk and I sleep walk, and I'm very much a deep sleeper, and I have no recollection. My partner, when I snore like a terrible snorer as well, but I sleep talk and I have no recollection. He will remember a conversation that he had with me while I was sleeping. I would have no recollection of it. I'm shut up, Jade, don't say anything else. When I was younger, I used to sleepwalk a bit, and the latest incident would have been up to 17 years old, so very much in my adolescence. I don't know, it's just mad frustrating because it could be the smallest thing that can completely crumble everything around you in this case, or in any case. It was only after the defence saw me talking about sleepwalking in that police interview that sleep experts got involved. Neither of those sleep experts saw me in person, so I'm paying to see my own private specialist to run some tests. And tonight's the night. God. I don't even know what to say. I'm so not sleepy now. I've been told that most people with sexsomnia are men who have repeated episodes, but that's not me. I feel like I need to hear firsthand from someone who actually does have sexsomnia. I have found people posting anonymously about having it. Do I have sexsomnia? My boyfriend has sexsomnia. Sexsomnia, how to deal with it in a relationship. Hardly anyone is willing to speak publicly about having this. But one guy has agreed to meet me. He says he had no idea he had sexsomnia until a girlfriend told him.
So during an episode, I do act differently. I'm quite uncoordinated, I'm quite dead-eyed and glassy-eyed. I'm not very talkative, and that's how we know that it's not me. I'm having sex in my sleep. If she wakes up and doesn't want that, isn't happy with it, then she can pull my hand away or push me away really easily, and then I stop. But I would have zero recollection of that happening whatsoever. I wouldn't know that happened unless she told me the next morning. And I've asked her to tell me any time that there is an episode so that I can check in with her, make sure she's okay with it. It was very confusing at first because I couldn't work out why my body was doing things that it wouldn't do in real life. And it was, there were times where I was scared and a bit worried about, would I do something that really hurts me, or more importantly, would I do something that really hurts someone else? It is not my mind, it's not who I am as a person, it's my body. And my body is involuntarily doing something to someone else. If I could take a pill that would get rid of sexsomnia, I'd do it straight away.
I really want to thank you for today. It's really been so eye-opening to have your perspective on all of this.
I'm so glad. I'm really glad that I could help.
It kind of just shines a light to me that this is something that is real and that's something that should be taken seriously. Hearing what he experiences on a regular basis, this like repeated pattern of these episodes, kind of really contradicts everything that I've kind of read about myself. For me, I think it just, I know deep down that I don't suffer from this. How can I prove that I don't? My sleep tests have been analysed, and I'm on my way to get the results. 2 sleep experts have already said it's possible I had an attack of sexsomnia, so I'm feeling nervous about what I might hear.
We're now here to talk about your results. One thing we have found is that you've got mild sleep apnea, but you also have a lot of snoring in your sleep. The fact that you've got sleep apnea will point towards you having a trigger factor for sexsomnia. So could it be one isolated episode in a quiet storm of events? Yes. Can we completely rule it out? The answer is no. There's no history of sexsomnia, and there's no clinical history of sexsomnia.
Can you give me like an idea of the probability that that happened?
That is the billion-dollar question. We can't. So there is a shortage of proper scientific study in this, right? So we cannot give a definitive probability. That would be misleading. Wanting a definitive black and white answer, yes or no, was it or wasn't it, is not going to happen because no one knows exactly what happened that night.
I have been looking back at previous rape cases, and sexsomnia has become increasingly more common as a line of defence.
And there are lots of lawyers out there trying to get business out of it. That's why I don't do many cases any longer.
Do you ever worry that you get it wrong?
We're not getting it right or wrong. What we're saying is this is the body of evidence for this. This is the body of evidence against it. It's for the juries to get it right and wrong.
Just a shame it never got that far because of the CVS, indeed.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, I've been researching as much as I can. I found some rape cases where the defendant claimed to have sexsomnia. So I've been looking online and actually come across actual websites of solicitors with dedicated web pages to the defence sexsomnia. So on this website, there is a dedicated web page, which is, the title is Sexsomnia Defence Successful. The client was found not guilty. I find it really, really troubling. I'm going to meet a barrister who's defended in some rape cases where the defendant claimed to have sexsomnia. I want to know if some lawyers are potentially manipulating this defence. Essentially, I do have concerns for people perhaps misusing sexsomnia as a line of defence. I mean, I have seen it kind of almost glorified and advertised on some solicitors' websites as an almost get-out-of-jail-free card. Do you think that that kind of line of defence is being kind of abused within the system?
I think you're right. There are certain firms of solicitors that are advertising their expertise in this particular area. But I would like to think that most lawyers behave in a more reputable way and properly explore issues that they should be exploring as part of their duty to their client.
From my experience of sleep experts, I haven't really been given like a definitive diagnosis. It's always merely a possibility.
Yes, I don't think you will ever get a sleep expert, or indeed any other expert in this area, that will say, this is a clear-cut case of sexsomnia. Sometimes they will say it's fairly neutral, it's very difficult, it's possible. All right, it's possible. From a defence point of view, possible is perhaps enough. And it's a very fundamental part of our system that if the prosecution bring a case, they really have to prove it. And they have to prove it so a jury is sure. Because that's the safeguard. You hope that process, that criminal trial process, will enable those genuine cases to be pulled out from those less genuine. But is there a guarantee that that will always happen? I'm afraid there isn't. I'm afraid there isn't.
It seems like the sexsomnia defence could definitely be open to manipulation, but the barrister told me that the courtroom is where that should be judged. It still feels unjust that my case never made it that far. I have one final chance to question the CPS lawyers who decided to drop my case before I submit my appeal. They didn't want to go on camera, but they've agreed to speak to me. Hey, good morning. I'll start with some sleep specialist related questions. It's not a clear diagnosis. How can that mere suggestion be enough to close an entire rape case that you guys have invested a lot of time and money in? Shouldn't have this been put to a jury to decide rather than being ultimately decided by the people in this meeting? If you guys did everything you guys could do, I would have felt at least, okay, these guys have done their job. I'm happy with that. I feel proud that our criminal justice system has done as much as they can. But I don't feel like that has happened in this case. I don't think it was challenged enough. Take care. Bye-bye. They kind of really stuck to their guns when it came to, this was our case theory, this undermined our case theory, end of. My mood now is I'm completely fired up and ready to take everything on. So I'm going to be putting forward my victim's right to review, kind of show to them that I'm not going down quietly about this. After all the people I've spoken to and everything I've learnt, I'm ready to submit my appeal. The CPS will now look over everything in my case again. It's been a difficult few months waiting for the result. I've had my decision from the victim's right to review, and the chief Crown Prosecutor that has reviewed my case has pretty outrightly said that he doesn't agree with the decision of it being closed and marked as no evidence, and that it should have been seen in front of a jury. I just can't believe that they've acknowledged it. It's hard to accept, but I've been told there's just no way forward for my case. Because it was closed completely, the law says it cannot be reopened. But I know now that I'll never have my day in court. There's no hope of any justice for what happened to me. It's just being let down. Being let down by a system that's there to protect. It's soul destroying, it's hard, it's a really difficult thing to go through. Yeah, I feel like change is needed.